bit later, but we do want to start previewing our upcoming semifinal that'll be airing just in a couple of minutes. But before we do, I want to give you all a real quick reminder of how these TASL matches actually work. So we will be using the standard format here for the same sets that happened during the regular season. Those sets are best of 9. Earlier this week, teams had to lock in their map pools. They can pick 6 map mode combinations across the entirety of the game to play. Teams will each pick 3 maps from their pool to play on during the set. Games 1, 4, and 7 are predetermined neutral maps and modes selected from a small subset of generally agreed upon combinations. Games 2, 5, and 8 will be selected by the higher-seeded Alpha side team, and games 3, 6, and 9 will be selected by lower-seeded Bravo team. All of these maps are selected before the set begins, so we'll have those on the side for you to see during the map screen when we pull those casters up. Casters will remind you of who picked what map, and there's hopefully something that makes a little bit of sense. You can check the underlined team color for exactly who picked those maps. So if all that's a little bit confusing, don't worry. The casters will break it down when we get into the set. But to talk a little bit big picture about the one coming up, it's Starburst versus Rift in our first intercontinental showdown. And so we'll be starting off on this. 9, why should the good people be excited for this set specifically?
Well, I hope the good people like fights, because you're going to see a lot of that over the course of this set. There is a sort of refreshing honesty about both of these teams. I think, Sendo, you said nothing fancy here on the side of Rift, and I think in a certain respect, Starburst is like that as well. There's a confidence that both of these teams have in their individual players to be able to make these plays. And while Rift does it a little bit more with set play, making sure they have all the special they need for their big snowball pushes, there does come a point where push comes to shove, and these teams are going to meet in the middle for a lot of really exciting fights. And I think there is something to that execution test style of play, so get ready for some really awesome shots by all of these players.
Can't wait to see it at all. But as we start turning and picking apart these teams' play styles, Sendo, I'll go to you first. In one of the more recent tournaments, 1st December, hosted by our friends over at Esports Pros TV, Rift was actually playing with Erza more on the Kensa shot, opting for those missiles and a little bit more diversity, as opposed to going for the double inkjet composition. What do you expect them to do heading into this league? Do you expect them to start changing things up, or do you expect them to go with what works the best for them, or at least what worked for them during the regular season?
So I think like that comes down to like how I view Rift is that, and from my experience from playing with Erza, and I mean I love the guy and all that, but he very much is kind of like how he feels for today. So I don't know. He wakes up in the morning and he thinks I'm playing T-Deck today. He's playing T-Deck. I don't know. Like at least that's how I remember him. I'm not guessing it's that much different with Rift. That they probably like a team that everyone's just playing the most comfortable weapon and then they make it work. So that's pretty much like, let's just look at the weapon and you know what they're the most comfortable with. I don't think there's anything, that deep behind that in itself.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see exactly what comes out of that. But Prodigy, I know we were talking a little bit about some of Starburst unique weapon picks earlier. So look towards this set. What do you think Starburst is going to try to show to counter the heavy engage potential out of Rift, being those double inkjets, the armor combination that we see so often out of them?
So that's the thing about Starburst, is that when you look at how NA plays, they're already used to playing against a team like Rift, would be my guess, even if they haven't been scrimming against them. So, I'm sure they're going to be pretty much using some of the same stuff, if not most of the same stuff that we've already been seeing out of them. The key difference here will be that for Starburst, they're used to having these kind of, weird specials that Rift may not be used to playing against, like bubbles and maybe double bomb rushes and things of that nature. And it's fortunate Rift's inkjets deal with the maybe not so familiar specials on Starburst side that I think is going to be kind of a key thing here. But for Starburst, this is just going to be just another match.
We'll have to see if they can treat it as just another match when the pressure is high and the match is on. Without any further ado, we're just a couple minutes away, so I think it's about time that we start going around the horn for predictions here. Just picking a team that is more likely to win this set. All 4 of us will get a chance here, but Sendo, I guess I'll go to you first. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, I think everyone has a bit of bias for their own region, and the familiarity bias and all that. But I think Rift is strong. I think Rift's gonna come out on top, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll learn something new about Starburst. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good for Rift. So let's see.
Sounds good. Prod, what do you think?
I'm going to Starburst here, and I think it's really going to come down if Starburst can avoid the inkjet snowballs, avoid that kind of aggression that just feeds into more aggression. I think they'll have this.
Sounds good. 9, what do you have to say?
I don't like being the tiebreaker here. Rift has the tools, right? Rift has the players who can make all the plays they need to create those big moments. But I think one important aspect of this is going to be how many splat zones we see. Because these teams got to choose what maps they wanted. Starburst was almost entirely splat zones, whereas Rift, very little splat zones. I think that's a big part. Rift has the tools, but they're going to need to make a lot of moments happen. I'm erring on the side of consistency, and that's Starburst.
One of the things you mentioned, I mean, Rift, oftentimes we're talking about how they're playing so well on tower control specifically. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what map picks do come out there as well. I'll throw in my 2 cents here. Both these teams, very interesting to me, seem to scale over the course of the set in most cases, right? Noting Rift's performance versus Radiance, noting Starburst. Oftentimes, one of the things I'm looking most out of Starburst is their adaptability. I see a lot of flexibility at times around this roster, flexing between multiple different weapons, whether that's Bran, who's played 8 weapons over the course of Transatlantic Splatoon League, which is the second highest out of anyone, any participating player. Then we go to Ant, who can play both something like a foil squeezer, something like a junior. So much variety and so many different options here. Maybe there's even something that we don't quite know yet. I think I'm going to have to go for Starburst for that adaptability, for that flexibility, and I'm expecting them to take the long game in this set. I'm looking for them to win in the later stages. For now, though, we're going to get things kicked off as I send it over to your casters for the semifinals, Rissa and Dragonudo. You two, go ahead and take it away. I realized that I threw that on production pretty quickly there. So, we might be back with us.
No, that was so good.
No. My bad.
Okay, so hello everybody, welcome to your first set today, first semi-final of TASL. We've got Starburst and Rift ahead of us right now. I'm here with Rissa.
Hello everyone, good morning. Yes, it is me, Rissa, here with Toby this morning. And welcome everyone to TASL2, the first semi-finals set of today. I'm super excited.
As am I. We're going to be having some super interesting matches ahead of us. Starting out, we've got Starburst, which is the first NA seed, and Rift being the second EU seed. Is there any standout members on either team that you're looking forward to in this set?
Particular, I'm really excited to, well, I'm sure that Ice is going to be playing. So I'm really excited to see what Ice is going to bring to the table on the side of Starburst, because I know that Ice can play so many different backline weapons. So given that they've had time to practice, time to do scrims, I'm really excited to see what Ice is going to bring to the table. What about you, Toby?
Well, I was gonna say on the contrary, I'm looking forward to Rift with the double inkjet. We were talking about it a little bit pre-set, but that's it's both of these teams are incredibly aggressive, right? They both bring this sort of hyper aggro push in sort of feel to them both. And looking at them, the maps that they've picked, I mean, I'm seeing that from just the maps that they picked. So Starburst went for a triple splat zones approach on this one. So what do you think their thought process was behind that pick?
You know, I think it's actually probably going to be a little bit more catered to them having a, more quote unquote, having a backline on their team, being able to work around the zone, using a backline, using, 2 front lines and a support. And Rift, on the other hand, is, complete opposite. Their aggressive play style actually really shows through to their maps that they picked to play on this set today. Very more aggressive, going to use that double inkjet with the armor. Definitely going to cater more around to each of the way they play in their comps.
Yeah, very interesting. I think both teams have got a very interesting map choice here. So Starburst, you'll see on the left side on the map list. Starburst is every map underlined in the yellow, or basically every Splat Zones map, aside from the Splat Zones on the Reef, is their pick. Alternatively, in the blue on the map list side as well, all of the maps underlined in blue are picks from Rift, and the sort of teal pebble grey color is the maps that were picked preemptively by, I believe, Kbot. So we're going to be starting out on Clanblitz Inkblot Art Academy, which is another team picked a Clanblitz map. So obviously maybe potentially thinking that they aren't as strong on these, which I would say I would say that Clanblitz is definitely one of the more team orientated maps, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Modes, in fact.
Yeah, Clanblitz is definitely a more team oriented game mode, and I am going to be interested to see how it goes on specifically Inkblot, because it's, more of a, not necessarily like a very long map. It's very close quarters. The mid field in particular can just keep going back and forth. So with the way that both of these teams have such different play styles, I think it's going to be a really interesting way to start out the set on a mode that neither of them picked.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm interested in seeing what Ant's gonna do. He's always been a bit of a wild card. I mean, we have him pegged down as a support player because he does tend to play the junior, but we've also seen him bring out stuff like the Squiffer, which he's. I mean, I've been an Ant fan for years. I've always been an Ant fan. He's one of my favorite Hanran members, and now on Starburst, one of my favorites as well. But I mean, interested in looking how that's gonna play out, especially sort of a unique, maybe potentially on Inkblot itself, he just brings out maybe the Squiffer, because I've seen him do that before on Splat Zones on Inkblot. He used to always bring out the Squiffer, so I'm hoping we're going to get to see something like that.
That would actually be really cool to see a Squiffer, first game of the day. That's not something you see a lot, but I actually, now that I think about it, just about in the Splatoon scene as a whole, the Squiffer has been making a comeback. So if that's something that Ant tends to do and is comfortable with, that'd be really exciting to see.
I would love to see that. I like when people bring out those unique weapons. It's just perfect. I mean, I like it when Skoze brings out the L3D, because like as much as it's a strong weapon, you don't see it all the time, do you?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that. And on Rift side, obviously I mentioned it before, the double inkjet. Urza, Skoze, both incredibly strong frontline pair. Like they always bring it. They have a really good teamwork between them. But they're being backed up by Alexei I think it always helps. I mean, he's an incredibly strong player. Like his charge is insane. Don't you agree?
Yes, I would completely agree with that. Alexei's charger is awesome. And if we go into this first set, which is Clanblitz on Inkblot, a shorter map, it's Clanblitz. I'm wondering, that actually really makes me wonder, what weapon in particular Alexei is going to pick.
Yeah, he could switch over to something different, especially on a map that's stubby and small. And I'm looking towards the duels in the center of the map. I'm looking in towards the center of the map as well. Like it sort of dips in. There's this maps that sort of dip in. They're kind of like, well, they're good for chargers, right? They get more line of sight. But again, on a mode like Clanblitz, like you said, like it might not be optimal to pick a weapon that's not as good when it comes to being in the enemy base. But that being said, again, I've seen both players like Ice and Alexei playing these insane aggro charges. Don't you agree?
Yes, like when you think of players that can play very confidently a charger, a splatter scope, Alexei and Ice are, two of the first people that you would think of. So I have no doubt that they can comfortably play charger in this set and this first game.
So it is going to be best of 9. I didn't mention that beforehand. Bit of a blunder. So best of 9, long set. Are you thinking it's going to go the whole way?
You and I were actually talking about this a bit before we started, and I feel like it does have the potential. This set has the potential to go to game 9, but it's just like anything can happen with the way that both of these teams have different play styles. They're both very, very strong. What do you think, Toby?
Well, I mean, I was looking at this. I was looking at this like Starburst is going to win, right? But I mean, after hearing the analyst opinions, they were putting some really good points forward, and watching the FLC videos that you can watch too if you want on the TASL channel, TASL YouTube channel. You can find that at the TASL_Splatoon Twitter page. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
I only knew that till like 2 days ago, and I was like, wait, this is really cool.
I know, and FLC did an amazing job with those. But both teams are, well, I mean, from the match analysis, they've shown. I can see how strong and how good of a match this could potentially be. Like the mesh of their two play styles will definitely come onto this sort of like. I mean, it'll just be incredibly brawly. Like I feel like we're gonna be seeing really sloppy trades, everything going back and forth in the middle. We're not gonna see consistent pushing. Like we're not gonna see anything that's like steamrolling. You know, we're not gonna see one team just destroy the other one on a map. I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like last night when I was going to bed, I was thinking particular about these first two semifinals sets that we're gonna cast, and like they feel very even, and it really, I think it might come down to whose day is it, who's really gonna be giving it their all today.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it was Sunny who was saying that Zekken can have his off days as well on support, and I believe it was Zekken he mentioned, but he was saying that some people have some real off days on support. So I'm looking towards potentially this first match showing us exactly how these teams are going to play today, and obviously both teams also might take the whole set to ramp up. So getting into our match shortly. Final thoughts on the matchup between the two teams.
Final thoughts is I don't know, like I was saying, how I was thinking last night. This could go either way. It's really going to be up to whose day is it, who's really bringing their all, and I'm excited to see it. How about you, Toby?
Well, I mean, this first match is definitely going to come down to this first match for me, and we are about to get into it. So we are on Inkblot Clamp Blitz, first match, semifinals, Starburst versus Rift, and both teams bringing out something a bit different on each of their comps.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, like we were talking about, or I was mentioning, Alexei going to go ahead and use the Exploiter instead of bringing a Charger this map, which I think is a really good pick because this map is so small. You want paint to help support your players, and right away we're seeing Bran here starting to push up, utilizing that there were members down on the side of Rift here and trying to keep up pressure in mid.
Yeah, that tri-slash and avert, he managed to get that range super fast and put some pressure onto that plat. Really going to make some trouble for Rift to get back in, and Starburst have just instantly got control of the mid. Clam's racking up, they're looking for a couple more picks to entry. Oh, Bran getting away with a cheeky one there on the leg side. That's huge. If they can get one more, this is easily a push. They've got the armor out. Bran's already underneath the basket. The rest of Starburst pushing in, and it's looking like Rift is being pushed back already.
Yeah, Rift already pushed very far back, and looks like Starburst did go ahead, get one clam in there, did score, wasn't able to follow up though we saw Bran there, setting it up very nicely for Starburst to get a push in. Now Ice is going to go ahead and use this bomb rush, get control of mid. 2 are down on the side of Rift right now. 3 down right as I'm saying that, so now Bran once again starting to push up, look for clams, and try to keep the aggression up for their teammates to follow up.
Yeah, that was super interesting to me. Starburst did pull out instantly as soon as they got that clam in, and not many of them actually went down. They just let Rift retake, and I think that was exactly what they needed to do because they maintained that mid control, and now they can make a second push and push a little bit further. They're doing it again. You can see them. They immediately disengage, playing a lot more safe against Rift, and Rift have to push into enemy turf in a 4v4 situation while their basket is open, which is it's just adding so many directions of attack. Alexei now does have the baller and the clam ball, so they are ready potentially for a push. The armor does pop on Rift's side. They do manage to get Bran. It's an opportunity, 2 down now on the side of Starburst, and Rift finally having an opportunity to push into the clam basket.
Yeah, Rift is going to go ahead and get one clam in, though. Not able. Alexei tried to follow up with that other clam, but does go down. Zekken there, still at the basket, grabs that clam and gets that clam in. So now they have gotten their score all the way down to 57. They just needed one more clam to get the lead there, but that's okay. We still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. So both teams here are working to regroup, get control of mid, as we're seeing Starburst doing a great job at controlling mid, and now getting ready for a counter push from Starburst.
Yeah, so both teams not with a very big penalty on it. Ice is going to score that clam 3 down on the side of Rift. Unfortunately, it's a sloppy fight, and that's going to be another clam ball in from Starburst. Great coordination from them. Clams just pummeling in, down to 14 already. They lose 2 members. Rift coming out, managing to stop that one. Brand does jump in, but just misses the clam ball. So just missing out on the knockout there. Really close. Rift saved a bit by the jump distance, and now they have an opportunity to push back in. They're looking for the mid control. Skoze looking towards getting his inkjet. He has the clam ball. They have 2 clam balls, in fact. So they have a big push on their hands if they manage to get onto that plat.
Yes, they do. Brand, though, I saw Brand there flanking around, though, was called out by Rift, which was a really good call out to get Brand down. But right now, Rift is kind of grouped up there, as we see on the right side of that map, and they're trying to keep their clams. We can tell they're trying to keep their clams. They know they need those if they want to get a successful push in. And it looks like Urza is already up by the basket, trying to call out to his teammates that, hey, I'm up here. Get over here with those clams. So Urza is going to go ahead and get that clam in, but unfortunately, there isn't any follow-up to that.
Yeah, Brand doing a great job there disrupting the backline of Rift. Urza might have managed to push into that basket, but it didn't really get much out of it. Just one clam ball, just a little bit of penalty, but that's giving Starburst another super clam. So that's another opportunity for them to push with literally no... They're basically helping Starburst at that point. And with Alexei going down again, that's another push onto the plat. If Ice get... Oh my god. Oh, beautiful pick from Ice. Skozy just getting destroyed, and another clam ball in, and the penalty's already gone.
Yeah, the penalty's gone. Looks like just one member up on the side of Starburst, though, so they weren't able to quite follow up with that. But now Rift is turning it around, gonna go ahead and get a clam in. They have 15 clams, 16 clams on their side. Urza here trying to sneak up and get that one power clam in. Alexei tried to sneak up and get it in as well, but Starburst was right there, calling out exactly where everyone was and did a great job at stopping that counter push.
Incredibly close. That clam ball would have flipped that one. It's a really close match. Rift have a spare clam, so they'll get the overtime. Urza needs to come up big with this flank right here, but he's been found out. Just some routine checking from Jared. Manages to find his location. He's probably been called out at this point. Rift on a bit more of a rough one, but they managed to get 2 picks. This is huge for Rift. Alexa gets taken down, but Second has another ball. If they can just get one clam in, there's 3 down. That's the first clam. They just need to get that second clam ball in, but Brand's coming in. Second gets taken out. And I think that's it for Rift.
Oh my gosh, it is. Skoze trying to jump in, get that clam in, but oh, the timer runs out. Brand's tri-slosher, that was awesome there, right on the steps there where the ledge is, was able to help with their teammates to stop that push. And game 1 is going to go ahead and go over to Starburst.
That could not have been closer. That was literally like an inch. If there was just one more second on the clock, that clam that Skoze through would have gone right in. That was insanely close. Honestly, I didn't expect them to come back that fast, but that just shows the type of team that Rift is, that teamwork. Being able to collect up that many clams and find an opportunity to get in off of the back of what looked like the end of the game.
Yeah, it really did. They did a really good job at like trying to hold, like, when they knew that it was their turn to start pushing up, they did a great job at collecting clams and keeping them on their side. Rift did. So I think that really helped them to get their scores that much closer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just a really good match from both teams. I mean, from the start, we saw the control immediately went towards Starburst, right? They took that mid, they pushed Rift back, and they held it, and they managed to keep that up for the first half of the game and provide a lot of aggression. But Rift, when they got the balls, and when they got the picks, like you see like Alexei just getting a huge pick, or Urza managing to get an amazing flank off, completely disrupted this sort of control that Starburst had, and it just came through like, well, I mean, it just came through towards the end, but it was so, look, I thought Riff was going to take that. My heart is gone. That ball was like so close to going in, but either way, that was insane.
It was insane. It was very, very close. And now we will be going to game 2 of the set, which will be Humpback, Pump Tracks, Blat Zones. So remember that the teams each had maps that they could pick. So this is going to actually be Starburst's pick, first pick of the set that we're going to get to see.
Yeah, an interesting one at that. And maybe potentially trying to use their more paint-heavy comp and their control, the way they play the game, like in more of a controlling sense. We saw that on Inkblot, so I'm assuming this is going to come out on this one too. Humpback contract, an interesting map. Zone kind of raised up and has sort of a dip around it. So look out for that. Is that an E-liter?
That's an E-liter. Alexei coming out with that E-liter as the charger for that they're picking. So that's going to be really interesting. And of course, Ice over there on that Firefin splatter scope. Right as I said his name, though, Ice does go down at the start. The zone control, though, currently is on Rift side.
Interesting one. I think that was a very smart pick there for Rift. Using that E-liter I think it's huge brain. Like, I mean, think about it. He's got the range advantage on that Firefin, but he doesn't have that recap potential that the suction bomb rush does. If that even matters, because it doesn't look like Starburst have been able to recap the zone. Skoze doing a huge job managing to push them back, and Rift at the moment just letting that counter tick down.
Yeah, they really are. Rift right now, setting up, as we see Skoze here on the left side. Looks like they're setting up at either side of the map to make sure that they have eyes on what's going on, though. Right now, as Starburst is coming back into the zone, Bran working to push up and help get picks, though, is called out by Urza. But right now, the zone isn't in Starburst's control, so it looks like it might be turning back.
Yep, that was an interesting fight. Bran nearly losing to the tap shot E-liter, but the zone control does go towards Starburst. Jab drawing down that range, put some pressure on that left side. Looking for more of a consistent lock here. I think Rift really need to utilize the inkjets here literally as an inkjet gets popped to push Jared out, which they managed to do. Jared's position's been called out. The bombs are just coming in. He can't do anything. He's locked out, and that's Rift with the recap again.
Yeah, Rift doing a great job at, making sure they have eyes on where everyone is, and did a great job at recapping there. So now Lexi confidently pushed up in the zone, peeking around those blocks there, getting ready to help their teammates get picks. And now both of the Julie's Swelters are down on both teams, and we're seeing Rift confidently start pushing up here.
Yeah, Skoze popping the inkjet in the spawn. The armor gets popped in response, but still Bran goes down. Jared just managing to clean up on Skoze there, but that was two people down on the side of Starburst, and Jared now stuck, kind of have to wait for his team as that counter gets closer and closer to the knockout. He throws in the rain to get some sort of paint onto the zone. He's got to get some more paint on that zone. They need to get some offense out. They do manage to flip it, but Jared does get traded out in the process. So Rift still with an opportunity to hold that zone. The inkjet coming out from Starburst. Zekken somehow still alive, managing to dodge everything coming his way.
Zekken using that junior's mobility there to just dodge and weave, and doing a great job at staying alive, because that support is really going to help his teammates, or their teammates, in the long run there, as we saw them able to recap the zone. Now, Zekken has armor ready yet again, is going to go ahead and pop it as Alexei does go down. Now Zekken down as well on the side of Rift. So Starburst here pushing up, finally able to recap the zone, and they have a 22-point penalty. So let's see if they can get rid of their penalty and, maybe take the game.
Well, these late picks on Skoze, that late pick on Skoze is going to give him a lot more time to get that remaining counter down, and looking to try and generate another armor. Bran with the pushing up. Urza managing to take out Jared, but getting traded out. Bran with a really strong inkjet ice, using that suction bomb rush just to maintain that zone control, just for long enough for them to get the lead. And it's a very smart play, but maybe popped a little bit too early. However, Zekken does go down, and beautiful snipe from Ice there to take out Alexei. He's looking for another one. That's gonna be it. That Starburst there with the last second flip on that zone. Huge picks coming out from Ice. Amazing play from him.
Yeah, that pick right there that we saw towards the end on Alexei that Ice got, I feel like was a really crucial pick, because if it would have gone the other way, if Alexei would have got Ice, the whole game itself could have flipped. So I think that was a really, really good pick for Ice.
Yeah, I mean, that and the suction bombs, I thought the suction bomb was a little bit early, but obviously he wanted to use that to create some room for him to push up onto the zone so that he could go for those angles. And the fact that he did and managed to go so aggressively and confirm that for his zone was incredible. I mean, later on, I want to have a look at the overhead cam just to see what effect that suction bomb rush had on Rift's ability to recap there.
Yeah, because since we were on the stream here watching it from Ice's perspective, we weren't able to quite see over the hump of the middle of that zone. So I agree. That would be really interesting to see how that played out on the other side of that. So that means for the set 2, Starburst is up 2-0. 2-0 to Rift. So right now we will actually be going into game 3, which is TC on Piranha Pit. And note, that is Rift's first pick, map and mode pick that we're going to get to see on stream.
Yeah, but which is interesting as well, considering CB and Splatzones being the neutral and Starburst pick, Rift were putting up an incredible fight. They were doing a really good job. I mean, honestly, the matches couldn't have been closer. Both were sub 10 points on Splatzones, and CB was literally like within the half millisecond of the basket closing. Like, it was so close. So coming into TC Piranha Pit, I mean, what's your thoughts? Why do you think they picked TC?
That's a really good question. I feel like for Piranha Pit and kind of all their picks in particular, it really, really does a good job at catering to the double inkjets that Rift uses. And so I think that Piranha Pit as a tower control map, if you can get that double inkjet and armor off correctly over the little corner that we're going to get to see as we will go into the match, that can be so deadly. So I think they're really confident with the way that they play this. So that's what my guess is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I love Piranha Pit as a map. It's incredibly strong tower control. That tower follows a really tight circle around the middle section, all the way down to about 50 points. So look towards that. That's usually sort of the area that most pushes go to, unless teams get like huge wipe chains, like amazing control. And from what we've been seeing, both teams haven't really managed to get like consistent attacks. Like, the only time I've seen it is from Starburst in the first set. So we are going to be getting into that now. Urza coming out with the Rapid Deco. So interesting pick there.
It's an interesting pick since Urza, generally we do see him on, a short range shooter. So that is a really interesting pick. And on the side of Rift, they have the Stingray Charger, but on the side of Starburst, they have the Bomb Rush Charger. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out too here, as we see Starburst getting first take of the tower and starting to push it.
Yeah, but they only have 2 people on the front line. The other 2 are respawning, and so they had to get off the tower just shortly. They do lose Jared really early on in this fight. Ant does get another armor out, which is going to be great for his team. They were looking like he was trying to get the checkpoint. Didn't manage to complete it because Rift are going to push in aggressively on that tower and try and take control. Starburst have kind of been split into 2, so this is the opportunity now for Rift to get some picks. And as I'm saying that, Skose gets 1. He's looking for a second. Doesn't quite manage to get it with the inkjet, but it was good. It was good aggression to push them back, and they're going to be able to start moving that tower towards that first checkpoint.
Yes, they are, and they are going to go ahead and keep pushing the tower, get it past that first checkpoint, along with Alexai's Ray there to help assist the tower being pushed through that first checkpoint. So now they have gotten the lead. It looks like they're doing a really good job too at not sitting on the tower in that corner that it's at, because if you sit on the tower in that corner, it can just be very deadly. You can just keep dying. So they're doing a really good job at making sure this top area is cleared before they keep pushing the tower.
Yeah, Urza there with a smooth kill on ice, taking him out using the rapid blasters like a secondary pop to take out ice from around the block, which is pretty scary. Rift looking at that second checkpoint now. They do have quite a few specials online. Skose, they're looking for some picks with the inkjet. Doesn't quite manage to get it, but does scare back the members of Starburst, and that push is now starting to make some decent headway. Alexai with the Ray does manage to take out ice. He's calling out Jared, but doesn't quite manage to get him. That's 2 picks, and that final checkpoint being reached now for Rift.
Yes, second is confidently sitting on the tower here, doesn't feel, any pressure on them, and that's it. That went really fast. I mean, Starburst barely even had a chance to get on the tower. So game 3 is going to go ahead and go to Rift, which this map and mode was Rift's pick. So this one, they had their game plan, they knew what they wanted to do, and it definitely showed.
I mean, honestly, like, that was just textbook. Like, at least we're not getting the 5-0 mega lol, but like that was a textbook Rift match. They just completely decimated. The inkjets were coming out left and right. The armor was there. The aggression, even with the Stingray, was incredible. Like, you could see the shot calling. They managed to basically divide and conquer Starburst that entire match. So I'm definitely coming out and showing that they aren't to be rolled over. I mean, not like I would have said that beforehand, but losing 2 matches consecutively can sometimes put you in a bad way, can't it?
Yeah, it really can, especially at the very start of this set. If you are already down 2, it can be hard to keep it in your mind that we got this, we can keep going. So that really showed through that they were very confident in that map and mode, and they're still in this.
Yeah, they are. And well, moving on, we're going to be going to another neutral map pick. So this is one that was just neither team picked this map. This was picked by Kbot. So blame Kbot if you don't like the map. So we're going to be going to splat zones on the Reef. I think this is a Starburst map. What do you think?
I probably would have to agree, but I could see Rift, with the way that like Urza and Skoze flank, act as distractions with their very aggressive playstyle. I could see them potentially utilizing the flanks on this map. So I don't know. I could see it going either way.
I mean, usually, yeah. I would think that Rift are going to put up a good fight, but personally, I think this sort of zone control, and especially considering the last Humpback map, Starburst showed that they have that sort of ability to like just control space. Like even if they're not getting the kills, just controlling that space and managing to make that counter tick down. It's really going to come down to how aggressive Rift get and if they manage to disrupt the flow that Starburst get into. Because as a team, like I'm not sure if they still do this, but they used to never VC, so or like some of them wouldn't VC. So it was specifically Ant. So I mean I'm pretty sure I've heard from the grapevine of the grapevine that Ant uses VC now, which is something unheard of, but maybe it'll disrupt their flow. Coming out on the side of Rift, however, Alexa going to be using the gold dynamo, so not a weapon you see often.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. If anything, I was gonna, maybe expect an X-Blow, but, I was not expecting a gold dynamo. So that means with that gold dynamo, Rift also has double armor on their side too, so I'm wondering, how we're going to see that play out.
Well, I mean, it would play out great, but Rift has already lost 2 members, and the bridge control has gone instantly in the way of Starburst. Zekken here, just trying to stay alive, trying to stay out of the prying eyes of ice, as Starburst hold the zone, let that counter tick down. Zekken pops the armor, and does but tries to get into zone, immediately scared off and has to run back. I think he's made this corner his home. They are looking towards capturing the zones. They've managed to do it, but the rest of his team's still down. Zekken, are you okay in your corner there?
Yeah, Zekken there was the last one up, so finally Zekken there jumped out, decided to come back and regroup with their team here. And on the side of Starburst, though, Starburst is, on control of bridge. They're on control of that right alley. They're on the left side of the map as well. So Starburst is confidently sitting here guarding the zones.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. I said I expected it, but I didn't think it would be this strong. I mean, they've just been putting on a clinic of lockouts. As I say, that they do lose 2 members, but 2 members also go down on the side of Rift. It's really down to Urza here to take out, get those picks with Skoze and stop that zone from ticking forward anymore. Looking like Rift might have actually managed to get control out of that scrappy fight. They do want to get control of that bridge. I always say every time I commentate Rift, that bridge is the key point of control, and leaving it to the enemy team is just dangerous. Second, managing to trade out there for Urza, and they are going to get the zones completely after that fight, but a really scrappy one coming out on the side of Rift.
Yeah, that was definitely a really scrappy, zone take. As we're seeing, Skoze here trying to keep up pressure on this left side. Skoze is alone though, and is going to get called out by Starburst here as Jared rushes in, and Jared also flanking the bridge. So this is going to now turn the zone back onto Starburst's side.
I mean, honestly, from what I've been seeing, it's just been looking like Rift gets the zone, Rift loses 2 members, Rift loses the zone. That's just been the story that we've seen. Like, they need to get something more consistent, and I would either put that down to Rift not being able to get the picks, or just Starburst playing incredibly well. Like, disengaging at the right moment, like, and doing stuff like that, waiting, being patient, managing to take out Skoze off of that. Rift does have control at the moment, but that's a huge pick for Starburst if they want to get back in.
Yes, it is, and we're seeing too, there is still orange paint around the map, so that's kind of letting Starburst be able to be in these little spots where they can still move around. And there are 2 down though now, as Rift is now about to get the lead, as they now have taken the lead from Starburst. Starburst now has to find an answer to this. They have to figure out how to get back in.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a bit of a rough one. I think Rift finally finding the flow in this match and managing to get those picks. Urza taking out 2 for his 1. Ice looking for another pick to try to enable Starburst, but if they don't have that junior online, they don't have the armor. And if they're fighting double armor here, then that's going to be really tough. Ice popping that bombers to try and neutralize the zone with the help of Gran here. But looking like they may be able to just get the cap. They do. So they're going to get the penalty on that one. A huge penalty there. They do lose every single member of the team, though. Ice barely getting out with his life. And Rift again with the zone as it's closer and closer to that knockout zone.
That was really interesting. Starburst knew that they needed to at least get control of the zone to give Rift a penalty, and so they did that, but then now they have to regroup again here as there's 1 down on the side of Starburst. So now Starburst is almost in the position that Rift was in earlier on. They're really having to figure out how to get back into the zone.
Yeah, definitely. I think key again is that bridge control. They've let that Dynamo up on that bridge, and he's just absolutely raining hell down onto them. They're going to do that sort of clutch cap again. This time, looking a bit more complete. They haven't lost any members of the team. 2 down on the side of Rift. Looking for the 3rd here, and just about nearly picking up the kill. Gets the assist, and it's just the Dynamo left in the zone. Does get taken out, and Starburst now with an opportunity. They finally have control. They have the bridge. They have the zones. They didn't lose that many members in that fight, and they can start thinking about getting close to retaking the lead.
Yes, now Starburst can get into position to start thinking about taking the lead. They just need to make sure here as they go into the last 10 seconds of the match that they keep the zones painted. There are 3 down technically coming from spawn on the side of Rift right now. So we're seeing Alexei sitting with that Dynamo armor, waiting for their teammates to get their specials as well, so that way they can start pushing in. Alexei going to use that armor, and Urza going to try and use a Booyah Bomb to help get control of mid.
Oh, and that was just unfortunate there from Starburst. They were so focused on getting the kills that they completely missed out on the fact that the zones have to be controlled. So Rift managing to get that just off of the cap. A bit of a weird one, to be honest. Like we couldn't really see what happened on the left side of the map, but on the right side that was just sort of a duel. Bran was kind of enjoying the fight, and it didn't really manage to see anything. But that's bringing it back to a 2-2. Rift showing that they can compete on splat zones. So maybe that triple splat zones pick from Starburst, a bit of a risky one coming from them.
Yeah, Rift is really showing us, maybe they have been working on their splat zones, behind the scenes in scrims. They have gotten more confident with it. Even though they didn't necessarily pick any map and modes that have splat zones, they're really showing us that, hey, we can be confident in splat zones, so don't put us down.
Don't put them down. Indeed, they are doing that. They were showing there, but even with weird comps like putting a Dynamo in, the double armor does manage to pull something special out. I mean, talking about armor, I'm pretty sure. Did you see the Area Cup? There was a quadruple armor team that came 2nd in Area Cup today, which is pretty insane. So armor does have a lot of power.
Yeah, I saw that all over Twitter this morning when I woke up. I'm really interested to see how those sets went, so I definitely want to go back and watch those.
Yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, look, I can talk about it all I want. I mean, I'll 100%. Look, VJet won Area Cup. Okay, I was told I was only allowed to say it twice during the broadcast. But I want to see some VJet. I love that. I love that weapon. I've been a diehard VJet for 3 years. I want to see some more out of that. But we are going to be going into Wahoo World splat zones. Both teams looking towards this sort of central area. It's a circular zone, only circular zone in the game. Bit of a weird shape. Allows for caps from stuff like Firefin to go way quicker. So looking forward to seeing that on this map. I'm interested in if Alexei's going to use the E-liter again, potentially using that long range of the sort of that long sight lines along the middle of the map. But we'll see as we get into it.
All right, and it looks like we are going to see Alexei using the E-liter for this map. So this is definitely one of the maps for splat zones that people will tend to pick E-liter. So we are seeing Alexei use that here as we now start seeing both teams here starting to push into the zone, starting to get first paint of the zone. And it is going to immediately go to Rift, but Starburst has their specials ready. They're starting to push up and start working to get some picks through that.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a slow start here. The team's kind of just trying to feel each other out as they are holding the zone. We are seeing the missile do these clutches from Jared, which is interesting. Probably wanting to use the fact that missiles are quite powerful on Wahoo. Because that sort of narrow area, you always seem to get quite a few people in them, and just the normal duelist clutches are quite strong when it comes to that. However, Rift do manage to take 2 down. As I say that, 2 traded back Gran, managing to take out Skoze in that duel, and the zone is, well, it's still in Rift's favor, but honestly, nothing has been kind of, there's not been any complete fights yet.
Yeah, they really haven't. It's been kind of, a juggle for mid control, trying to make sure that, whichever team has the zone is trying to work to push up confidently and make sure that they don't die from that. So we are seeing the zone go back and forth. The lead now is going to switch over to Rift side, but there is 1 down on the side of Rift, 2 down on the side of Rift, 3 down now on the side of Rift. So it is going to come back over to Starburst, and Starburst has a small penalty here, so it could switch back here by the time that Rift gets all their specials ready.
Yeah, Alexa has just kind of sat waiting. I mean, honestly, I think he should have jumped out way earlier than that. The rest of his team pushing in Jared with the VDS, managing to take him out with the missiles here. Kind of hiding in Rift space at the moment, just being a nuisance. Which, I mean, I guess that's just the rule of the duelist country. That's what you're always going to be doing. And Starburst holding that control just a little bit longer, getting the picks they need. Jared looking for another hit, doesn't manage to get it. Skoze managing to survive that one. Looking to maybe get himself an inkjet and pushing onto the zone. He spotted the charger. He gets the charger, and the rest of Starburst start falling. Skoze does get traded out by Ant, but that's the opportunity that Rift needed to come back in and get the cap.
Yeah, that was good follow-up on that opportunity. And now Rift has control of the zone here. They have an armor ready too. It looks like they're holding on to it, kind of waiting for the moment they need to use it. They did use their armor as well, and Alexei does go down here as the zone switches back over to Starburst side. So here we go again. A lot of juggling in mid, some trades happening. And now 2 are down on the side of Rift here as all members of Starburst are up and are starting to confidently push forward.
That's kind of just been the story of this match, I think. It's just been, and they're back. Starburst have the zone again. Like, Rift has been, it reminds me of the last Splat Zones match. It was Rift being pushed around for the majority of it, and then getting the lead and holding Starburst down and doing the exact same thing to them. So I'm expecting, or hoping, to see the same sort of thing. It's Rift finally looking like they get some sort of foothold here. They do have 3 down on the side of Starburst, but I mean, they lose to him for a little bit second, but Rift now with some decent control, they're going to look towards holding a bit closer. I think they want to get that aggressive positioning up so that they can put that pressure onto Starburst and stop them from coming back in.
Yeah, they really want to work on keeping that aggression pushed forward here, as we're seeing Skoze doing exactly that, sharking around in Starburst court here, and Urza there following up Urza and Skoze doing a great job at working together here, and Rift has no penalty right now, so right now the points are pushing down here. They are going to go ahead and get the lead, and this is just flipped back and forth.
This is looking like it. Honestly, I'd be surprised if Starburst managed to take this zone. The tap shots on the zone not going to do much. A bit of a panic mode here for Starburst. In fact, Jared's trying his best. The jump's coming into the zone. The bomb manages to take one out, and I think that's going to be it as Rift complete the zone after quite an interesting attempt by Starburst to finish that retake.
That was very interesting, and Zekin there just moving around, staying alive, doing a great job at painting, and there, as we saw there at the end, that was almost exactly like what happened in the last Splat Zones game that we watched too, like you were saying.
I mean, that was a monument to juniors, a monument to paint. What's part of this game is just painting the floor, because that's all Zekin was doing, and that's all Starburst were trying to do. Like, that middle sort of dance was just crazy. I mean, but it's something that we've seen every Splat Zones now, is this story of one of the teams just getting this really low, like basically looking like they're gonna knock out, getting stopped from knocking out, and then getting knocked out. It's just so, it's like, I don't know, the learning coming out from both teams has been incredible. Going in the way of Rift, at least this time, and we are going to be going on to another Rift map. So Starburst not looking too hot now, as they've lost 3 matches in a row, going into a Rift pick on TC Shellendorf.
Yeah, and as we kind of look back on the games that we last watched too, the TC Piranha Pit match that Rift picked, they played it textbook. They knew exactly what to do. They were feeding off each other perfectly. So as we go into this next tower control pick from Rift, is it going to be the same? Are they going to play out this textbook very confidently, or is Starburst going to have an answer for that?
I mean, I hope Starburst has an answer for it, because if they don't, then it's going to be a tough one on Rainmaker Blackbelly. Of course, it's Rainmaker Blackbelly, but we talk about that when we get to it. So TC on Shellendorf, I mean, last TC match, it was just Rift, wasn't it? Like you said, they just played it. They played it textbook. They just completely rolled. And I mean, Shellendorf, interesting map design. It's a bit different. I'm surprised that they picked it, but maybe wanting to utilize the glass here to get some sort of offensive pressure from with Alexei onto ice. Maybe hoping that he's gonna go Elita, in fact, to try and get that range and put that pressure on ice on that glass. But I'm looking forward to what Starburst are going to bring out as sort of their comp. Which, I mean, here we go. Well, we just saw it.
Here we go. We're seeing both of the comps come out here, and it's pretty similar to what we've been seeing both teams. Note that Urza has actually switched over from the last tower control map from the Rapid Blaster to the Tenatech. So that's a switch up that I'm seeing right away on the side of Rift here. As Urza, as we start the match out here, Urza is going to go down right away, followed by Skoze. So it looks like Starburst here has backed up, kind of let Rift feed into them in the start here, and now they're going to start pushing the tower and waiting for the members of Rift to come back.
Yeah, looking towards sort of the Stingray to be used to sort of... I mean, look, it's a Stingray map. This is Shellendorf. This is a Stingray map. The Starburst get completely taken out. Didn't have to use a Stingray, but Alexei has that on deck. The Hypno's main weapon. He wants to be using that to advance his tower along that path. Everybody knows Stingray, incredibly powerful special for just denying pushes and starting pushes. And Rift finally starting to get through that first checkpoint. Doesn't quite manage to... Okay, they do. I thought they weren't going to get that then. Ice jumping back, potentially wanting to hold on to his near Stingray, waiting for his team to come up so that he can stop that tower if it manages to get to that second checkpoint.
Yes, and now the tower here is kind of stuck here in a position as Alexei tried to use their Stingray here that they were holding on to help push the tower and complete the push that was going on. But Alexei was called out there with their Stingray. Skoze here trying to jump in as well to keep up the pressure, but Starburst did a great job at calling out everyone's jumps, making sure they put a stop to the aggression that Rift was using. And now Ice up here on the top here has their special ready, going to use that bomb rush along with the armor. And now they are going to, Starburst here is going to start pushing the tower up to the checkpoint.
Definitely looking a lot stronger, aren't they? They've been providing. I mean, and taking down mid-beat, but Brand looking towards holding that. Rift are going to come in and deny the tower just a little bit longer. Two members of the team, each team going down. So it's a Charger Junior brawl in the middle. Alexei holding that glass. He's got a really good angle on that tower. So getting past that second checkpoint, what you really need is like basically you just need a wipe. You need to take out that Charger. You need to take out that front line to stop them from messing you up. Oh, that was a beautiful trade of the Chargers. I mean, I love it when you see stuff like that. Brand being pressured in the corner, and I think that's the end of Starburst's attempt of the push.
Yeah, it looks like it is actually Starburst here. Oh, wait, hold on. Jared here rushing around the corner with their teammates and is actually going to push up and get that pick on Urza as well. So Starburst, looked like their moment to stop the push was happening, but they actually got back on the tower, keeping up the pressure and keeping up this push, having to avoid Alexei's Ray there, though. But, I mean, Ant going to pop that armor and have Brand start pushing up with that armor. Starburst is keeping up the pressure here as they start continuing to count down points.
I mean, that checkpoint, huge. They needed to get through that. Like, this next checkpoint comes a lot easier. I mean, if you don't get completely wiped. They did get completely wiped aside from one member. As a barely surviving, but Rift managing to stop that one out and start moving that tower back towards the middle here. But that big, thick checkpoint around there is a massive worry. So managing to have that one down, Starburst is in a super strong position. Rift, however, do have the inkjet on the ready and the armor out as well. Urza probably looking for a pick here. Does does want to get him and then pop the inkjet, I think. So he's fishing for the inkjet. He wants to be able to take it out. The ray comes out as well. Lots of pressure from Rift as they move that tower towards that first checkpoint, really dispersing Starburst, pushing them around the place. They lose the tower, however. Starburst coming back in. Brandon and Ant do go down. It's just one person alive on each team.
Yeah, that was quite the exchanges that we got to see there. And now Urza, the last member up of Rift up there, was called out here by Ice. And now Starburst on top mid here with Ice watching down, getting control of mid again, getting their specials ready yet again, and pushing the tower again. So the more they push the tower away from Rift's side, the better it is for them. It's going to make it that much harder for Rift.
Yeah, I mean, Rift just, they have to get past the big checkpoint, right? So they need to get something big happening, but the further that tower is away, the more time it gives Starburst to recollect. And you know what I'm seeing at the top of the board? I'm seeing Stingrays on both sides, and they're going to be used to stall that tower out. The Stingray comes out from the leg side, but the counter armor popped as well. So the Stingray not getting too much done. A lot of pressure, but definitely nothing concrete. Tower still in Rift's favor as they try to push it past that checkpoint. They need to get some picks. Zekin is completely exposed when he's sat there on that tower. He can't do anything. He needs his team to push forward. He needs Skoze and Urza to go on that aggression, and they're so close to those jets. Skoze looking for Ice, as you can see on the glass. They get the checkpoint. Urza moving closer. They're looking for the tower. Jared needs to stop him. He manages to get Urza off, and Starburst jumping on the tower, just saving that. Like, just saving that. What is it with this set? It's been like...
I feel the exact same way. Oh my gosh, Starburst was so dominant, and then that ending push there by Rift had crazy potentials. We're seeing, the splat counts on both teams are very, high. So both of these teams, they are just really, really showing us today that, they're in this. I mean, that was crazy.
That was insane. I didn't expect that coming out from them. Like, that Rift, it wasn't looking too strong. They won't manage to get that second checkpoint, but just the consistent aggression from them getting towards that point was so good. But Starburst at the end there, managing to recollect, managing to stop that tower. That could have gone. That was so close because Urza and Skoze were so close to their inkjets, and if they had those, they would have been absolutely decimating around the tower, and they would have had so much offensive pressure. But Starburst there with a huge hold in the last couple seconds. Huge.
Yeah, I saw, as the 10 seconds were coming up, I saw one or two members of Starburst jump back, and they had their specials ready, so I think that was really smart. And we didn't necessarily get to see it from one of their sides, but I think jumping back with specials like that to act defensively, I think that really helped them out there. But it had the potential, if, like you said, if, Skoze and Urza had their inkjets ready, that could have easily turned.
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, it was right down to the wire. And again, like I said, this has been the story of this set. It's like, you've seen the KOs on the board. There's 3 of them. All 3 of those KOs have been within, 10 points of each other. Like, they've been so close. That both teams have been putting forward so well. And it's just been good. It's just been really good. And as we're going into a neutral map pick, right? So Rift really want to take this. This is incredibly important for them to take this because the next map after this is going to be Starburst's map, and they want that last map in the set. If they win Blackbelly and lose Inkblot, they want to be on their map pick for the last one in the set. So, but equally that makes it crucial that Starburst gets Rainmaker Blackbelly as well. Both teams so close to closing out this set either way, but this map is incredibly crucial based on those picks.
Yeah, it really is. It's going to really come down to, who wins this, who gets to play on the maps that they are comfortable with, that they have the potential to win on.
So, it's just interesting. Personally on this map as well. Okay, wait. All right, I'm gonna start from the top. Okay. All right, calm down. All right. So, First thing first, on Rainmaker Blackbelly, obviously it's a super back and forth map, right? It's small. Getting that Rainmaker, you can get it to 30 on an opening push, right? Easy peasy. So I'm hoping that we're going to see an incredibly close match on that. But then we're going to be going to splat zones, right? After that, and what we've seen across the course of this set is that on splat zones, it's not as strong of a pick for Starburst as they thought it was going to be. So. Again, that could go either way. I mean, it's just really tight. I didn't expect so much of a close interaction between both of these teams. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, usually you'll win the maps and modes that you picked, but I mean, it's going back and forth here. Rift has won Starburst picks, but Starburst has won Rift's picks. So I think that Splatzone's Inkblot is going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. Especially, that's kind of like a good general like Splatzone's map to pick too. So I feel like a lot of teams are very comfortable on that Splatzone's map as well.
See, I always think that about Inkblot. Is that Inkblot is like the poster boy map, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I think back to like early competitive Splatoon, I think of the Splatoon 2 the World Championships, right? And I think back to seeing US wit, good old Penget on the blaster playing on Inkblot Splatzones, and then decimating the Japanese team on it, I think to myself, like, what a great map, what sort of neutral map. And I think that's just the case. It has it's really well built, has that sort of inner slope, good charger spots, good spots to hide from the charger as well. It's open and wide, and it's just a strong map. But again, that being said, from Starburst's perspective, they see Splat Zones on that map and they think, we can let Ant do whatever he wants. Because he can just pump out that junior and he's getting so many armors, and that's gonna let them do whatever they want. It's crazy.
Yeah, the armors and then just painting around, it's a bit smaller of a map, so having the junior that can just paint around, the left and the right side, but also keep the zone painted is definitely something that will come into play for that map and mode too.
Yeah, it's just pretty crazy. I mean, this set so far has been super close, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we get. I think it goes all the way at this point. I really do. I want to see Rift take this next one, Starburst take the next one, and then either way at the end. Like, it's looking like it could end up being a close one. We do have a bit of a delay, by the way. So just to preface this, while we're talking so much, we're just having a bit of an issue. But we'll be back into the games shortly. That being said, I'm sure you can wait because these games have been intense nonetheless. And personally, I need to cool down after it.
Something I was thinking about too, as we're waiting here, this is actually going to be the first Rainmaker mode that we're going to see both of these teams play on. So I think that'll be interesting to see too, each team's take on Rainmaker in particular.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw the Explo come out earlier on, I believe, from Alexei. So I'm curious if he's going to pull out the Alexei for the Alexei. Yes, the Explo is now called the Alexei. No, the Explo for Blackbelly, because typically people do or have brought the Explosher out on Blackbelly, more so in Splat Zones, but it's still a really strong weapon on this map. So I'm curious if he's going to try that again, because in that first Inkblot match, he didn't do too well on it, did he?
Yeah, first game of the day, didn't necessarily play out that well. And then especially with Ice on the charger, I think that definitely had opposite energies going on here. And Stingray too is really good on this map and mode. So, maybe Alexei will come out with the charger and use that Stingray. We're going to have to see what they end up picking there.
Yeah, I'm more posturing. I expect the charger. I was just curious if potentially he might try it out. Like, you never know.
You never know.
They brought out the Dynamo on Rainmaker. I didn't say it on Reef, but this is old maps. Okay, we got some great videos, but the videos that play were made about 3 years ago by Ink TV. So these are old school. But this isn't what the map looks like. It's a bit lower down. There's no walls there. But we are going to be actually managing to get into our game now. Just shortly, we're going to see the C-Jet coming out from Ice and the charger from Alexei. So definitely some rays. I think you were right about that one. Definitely going to be seeing a lot of rays here.
Yes, we're seeing rays come out from both sides, and Ice, especially with that Jet Squelcher, is going to be pumping out rays here. And right now we're seeing mid-control here starting to work out as we see an immediate ray come out from Ice. And now both of the juniors are actually down on both teams as Brand tried to brush up and start pushing the Rainmaker, but Urza was shark in there and called out that Rainmaker.
It does get traded out though. Ice trying to put some damage on the Rainmaker. A bit of a downside of the CJ though is that it can't really destroy Rainmaker shield. So he's trying his best. He wants to get another Ray for that push, but I'm pretty sure he spotted it as well. There is a counter Ray on deck by Rift. So if they try and push that Rainmaker, that's probably what's going to come out. In fact, looking at Rift right now, they have so many specials on board. The armor does get popped and they do pop the Inkjet. That's 2 members down on Starburst and they are going to run away. Ice gets his Ray, jumps out. He's ready for them when they start to push.
Yeah, that was really smart of Ice there. Jumping back, has the Stingray ready, and is going to use that Stingray here, and does get called out though, as the Rainmaker does go down. Right now, the Rainmaker's stuck here on this left side. We're going to have to see who can pop it, and potentially, if Rift can grab the Rainmaker and keep pushing it, or and yes, they do exactly that here. Get a few more points on the board, and the Rainmaker is kind of stuck here in this left side of the map.
I mean, the more Rift gets stuck here, the quicker Ice gets his Ray, and Ice has got a Ray. So another opportunity. It's an opportunity again for Starburst to push in. Ant's going to pop his armor and pick this up. Yep, as I thought. So he's going to pop his armor and pick this one up, and they're going to try and start a push to go in. They're an interesting one to have your support pick it up at this point, but I guess if you've got 2 members with incredibly strong specials that would normally pick it up that aren't your frontliners, it kind of goes back and forth between that. And showing some beautiful moves. Oh, this man, he's dancing. Dances his way towards the lead. Alexei not really managing to do much, and managing to get a push down to 22. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful. He really was dancing there as Urza was on the flank there, ready to take him out. Did a great job at avoiding that flank and pushed up Skoze in this very intense 1v1 with Jared there. Skoze going to go ahead and take out Jared in that 1v1, as now Rift has the Rainmaker, is trying to push it up. Skoze, though, called out now by Bran on this left side of the map.
I mean, keep an eye on those Rays, There was already a pop from Ice. He popped it and stopped that Rainmaker push. So again, Rainmaker push finished for now. I was gonna say that, but it looks like Rift have managed to pick up yet another Rainmaker pop, and they pop their Rainmaker and their armor. Brand with the Inkjet. Oh, beautiful snipe! Manages to take out Zekken with the when he had the Rainmaker there. And get the trade with Skoze. Rift not doing too great here, as all of them seem to drop, and it's another opportunity for Starburst to extend the lead.
Yeah, it is, and I love that Starburst here. Grabs the Rainmaker immediately, so that way no one from Rift can even think about grabbing a hold of that. And now Starburst has control of the Rainmaker. They necessarily knew that they didn't need to push it really, but they just wanted to push it out of their spawn and make it that much harder for Rift to get back in a good position.
Yeah, Rift managed to take down 3 members of Starburst, but that doesn't really matter. Well, I was going to say it doesn't really matter because the member they didn't take down was Ice, but an amazing raid coming out from Alexei to stop that. Opportunity now for Rift to push in. They got one of the picks on the CDS. Urza looking for another one. He's made the path for Zekken. Zekken manages to get past Urza, taken out, but that's not the lead. Rift still with the advantage. It's just Ice left. It's looking like this is going to be Rift's game. Ice does get taken down, 3 down, but they don't get the lead quite. And Skoze Urza just need to push this a little bit more, but a Starburst filtering in. It's just a fight over the Rainmaker shield. It's not going to pop in time. It's so close.
It's so close here. It really depends on who's going to pick up the Rainmaker. And Starburst here, in a panic, picks up the Rainmaker, which was really smart for them. But we are in the last 40 seconds of this match here, and Rift is putting on so much pressure. They have a lot of map control. Urza's sitting up here very confidently, sneaking around, starting to get any picks that they can. Urza going to get called out, but Bran gets called out following up that. So Zekken here going to try and grab the Rainmaker, safely bring it around here, and work to get the lead.
He's so close. Ice with the panic ray just misses out. Alexei throws the bomb in. Skoze's still on the flank here, but the members of Starburst. Oh, beautiful snipe from Alexei to take out Jared. The pop is close. Alexei looking for another one and picks it up, but it gets taken out again. Second, Alexei getting the wipe. They're holding it down. That's going to be the lead. Amazing fight there from Rift to manage to take that one out and get the game.
Oh my gosh. That was I was having I was just thinking about if I was in that position. Just so panicked. That is such a crazy Rainmaker situation to be in. Starburst there trying to grab it, keep it away from Rift, but finally Rift got that complete wipe on Starburst and was able to push up and just get the lead there in the last portion of that. That was crazy.
I felt like my voice went an octave higher. That was insane. Like, there was such an incredible play by Rift. I mean, Starburst, the fight that they put up towards that podium was incredible. Rift, the pressure that they gave off was incredible. Both teams fighting over that tiny little line, just needed to get it just a little bit further, and eventually managing to do it. During the middle of that fight, Ice managed to break out of the spawn, get to the middle, paint for a ray, and just before he came back, he got spotted, but he tried to pop the ray from behind, from behind Rift. So that was a super interesting play that could have worked out in a really cool way. A very high risk, high reward, but I mean, the rest of his team was doing a great job at stopping that. But that was an amazing game from both teams. And as we're going in now, 3-4 going into Starburst's map pick. So Starburst looking to make this 4-4.
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about as we were waiting for that last game to start. This is exactly what we're talking about. We're going into this map, Splat Zone's Inkblot, is Starburst's pick. So they picked this map and mode. They must be very confident on it. They have a game plan that they want to follow. But with the way that we've been seeing this, you know, Rift has been doing a great job on Splat Zone's maps. And this is really going to be it. You know, if Rift can take this, they're going to win the set. But if Starburst can take this, then we are going to be going to a game 9.
That's what I want to see. I mean, this is match point for Rift, but Starburst looking towards taking this one. Splat Zone's matches have gone either way this whole set, so it really could go either way. It entirely depends on what the teams manage to bring out. Rift could be coming in from that last match with a lot of hype, so I'm thinking there might be a lot of that. They might have high spirits. You know, you might see a bit more gameplay, a bit more hype gameplay, trying to look for those hype moments. But on the flip side of that, Starburst, their heads may be more level. They might be working this out. We are going to get into this match. This is match point for Rift, semifinals, Starburst versus Rift.
Yes, and as we go into the match here, starting out, I want to point out Alexei back on that E leader, and then on the counter side, I'm actually seeing for Starburst, they have a tri-slosher, but it's the armor tri-slosher, so they are coming out with double armor, so I think that's an interesting take on that as well.
Yeah, the double armor, an old staple of the 1.1 meta, has been coming back basically every other meta since. Rift being pushed back here, so Starburst with the early lead. Second, not managing to get taken out, so he has another armor already, and the rest of Rift are getting their inkjets. He pops the armor. Skoze has the inkjet on deck. Tensitech inkjet already out both inkjets. It's a double inkjet armor. Look, it's what you expect. The bomb rush, counter bomb rush comes out to help keep the zone in Starburst's favor, but Rift now being quite aggressive, looking like they're going to get the cap. They get 2 members down on the side of Starburst. Rift, Ice manages to jump out, and it's just Ant left in that fight.
Yes, and this is, you know, this is a map mode too where you want to make sure everyone, or at least you have, you know, 2 specials. The more specials, the better, but if you have at least 2 specials, you want to make sure you have those before you start pushing in. So that's what we saw Rift do a good job at, having 3 specials ready to start pushing in, as now they have the lead. Gonna go ahead and use armor here as a counter defense to Starburst starting to push in. And now there's 3 down on the side of Starburst. 4 down on the side of Starburst. Rift is sitting here very confidently, getting their counter specials ready and keeping up pressure.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, look, Rift is looking really strong right now. They want to close this one out here. They want to finish this set as a 5-3, but I don't think Starburst has something to say about that. Look, they've got one of their armors close. Well, I mean, I'd say they have something to say about it. They keep losing members. Rift are being incredibly aggressive. There's only 10 seconds left on the clock. They need to push in now or never. And puts the armor. The bombs come out. Urza gets picked off. They're looking towards getting it. The inkjet with the armor is coming out too. They've neutralized the zone. 2 points left. 2 down. And they get the flip. Oh, that was so close. Ant with a huge play. Jared as well, managing to take out every member of the team, and that's going to be the zone going towards Starburst. An opportunity for them to push back.
That was so close. Oh my gosh, 2 points left. Starburst knew that they just needed to cap the zone if they wanted to stay in it. And they did exactly that here. And now, Rift has a 75-point penalty. So that's a huge penalty for Rift to have. As now, Starburst has no penalty. They are counting down their points. And right now, both teams have specials ready. We're going to see they're both using their specials. We're going to have to see, you know, who's going to get the picks as both teams start using their specials in the zones.
I mean, look, that was wait, are you telling me that it's already down to 20 points? and Rift has lost members, and this is exactly the situation we saw Starburst in not 5 minutes ago. There's 5 seconds left on the clock, and Rift just keep getting taken down. This is Starburst's opportunity. They get the lead, and they get the knockout. This is going straight to a game 9, 4-4 on the board. Starburst with a huge comeback.
Kobe, we're gonna get the game 9 that you wanted. This is, we were talking about this. Is this gonna be a game 9 set? Is it gonna go one way or the other? And this is a game 9 set. It's back and forth here. I mean, even though some of those scores, they say that there's a KO, that doesn't show, how close these sets have been. They have been so close, literally off by, 2 points, 5 points.
KO, but it was close though, basically. That's the entire thing. KO, but it was close though. I mean, this whole set has been insane. So back and forth. You can see how much both teams want to win this one. They keep bringing out these incredible clutch moments right at the end of these matches. I mean, honestly, Starburst's clutch to get that from being knocked out was insane. The amount of paint that came out from Jared and Ant was huge. Look, I'm going to be straight on the... I'm going to say it again. I know it's a plug, and I'm actually going to do this, though. I'm going to be straight on the TASL channel after these get uploaded, because I want to see the overhead view of some of these matches, because that is absolutely incredible. The coordination coming out from both teams to stop these knockouts from happening and then get their own knockouts is amazing. And going into a game 9, it's going to be a Rift pick, but it could really go either way.
Yeah, it could go either way, as we've been seeing the way that both of these teams are playing today. And I want to note, too, that it's Rainmaker on the Reef. So the Reef is kind of, there's so many different paths the Rainmaker can go on. There's, different levels of the map. Again, it's going to be like the Splat Zones version of the Reef 2 that we saw, where you really want to make sure you are in control of that middle bridge. No matter what the mode is on the Reef, you want to make sure you have control of that middle bridge. So that's going to be really interesting to see the team's takes on this.
I mean, like you said, bridge control, hugely important here. Both of the backlines are going to be wanting to hold that one. Coming into the game 9, what we're going to be seeing is just they got to be playing at their best. Both of the teams have been playing insane this entire set. I'm expecting that to come out from both of them coming into this. It's going to be good. It's just going to be intense. I know we're going to see an incredible match.
Yes, we are. And as we say that, we are going into game 9, Rift versus Starburst here, as we ready up. Each team has 4 on the board here, and we are seeing note both teams have a Stingray, so Ice on that Sea-Jet again, and then Alexei on the Stingray Splatter Scope. So right off the bat here, Rift gonna go ahead and have Alexei confidently sitting on the bridge here, and this bridge control is a really good way for Rift to start out the match.
Yeah, huge. Both teams bringing out their strongest compositions, I believe that is. I'm interested to see who's going to get more raise. Alexei managed to see... Well, wait. No. 3 down already. Starburst already pushing in. Rift has been pushed back. There's no way. It's not like this. Ice, no. He's going to knock it out. He just gets the snipe from Alexei. Huge stop on that Rainmaker, but it's still Starburst's opportunity. They're not going to do this, are they? There's no way. They knock it out. Game 9. Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. Starburst goes ahead and takes game 9. So Starburst wins the set, is going to go ahead and win the first semifinals set that we saw here on stream for TASL2. And that was a Rainmaker match if I had ever seen one.
Yeah, I think you're right on that front. Rainmaker, if I've ever seen it, that was 2 seconds. I felt like the match was on for like 30 seconds. The wipe came out, and Rift just couldn't do anything. Alexei tried to buy some time, but that was a clinic. So you're telling me we watched both teams put 4 matches to each other, this whole set, like just this incredibly tight thing, and we end up with a Rainmaker moment.
Yeah, that was a Rainmaker moment if I've ever seen one in game 9 of all things too. So I was really excited for that one too, because the Rainmaker Reef can be a little bit weird. So I was excited to see how both of the teams were going to play it out. But you know what? Starburst said, "We're just going to take this. Don't mind us."
Starburst just took off the weighted clothes. They're like a bodybuilder. They're just like, okay, we're done, and get the muscles out and just completely pummeled Rift on that last map. I mean, both teams have been putting towards this incredible effort the whole time. They're playing incredibly well, and I mean, it's a bit of a fizzle, but talk about a way to end a set. Intense play from both teams.
Yeah, that one too. I think Rift started with mid control of bridge, but Starburst was waiting to have their specials ready, and as soon as they used those missiles, I think the missiles with an armor, that was just it. They just took that and they just pushed forward and dunked it literally.
Literally, that's exactly what happened. I mean, it literally dunked it. Like they pushed the leg side back. They didn't give him any advantage that he wanted. He was first to respawn, so he managed to stop the Rainmaker from getting knocked out immediately. But like just the pressure that Starburst, the patience that they exerted, right? Like you mentioned, they waited for their specials. They sat back. They were on that point. They knew what was what they had to do. They executed the plan flawlessly. I mean, it felt like I was watching SRL in Splatoon 1, those guys would knock out the Rainmaker in 10 seconds. This feels like it all over again, just instant destruction. And Starburst taking the set 5-4, ready to go to grand finals to meet either FT Win or Freeze. It's just whoa.
Yes,
insane.
It is insane. That was an amazing set that we got to watch first thing, and yeah, like you said too. So now that Rift has won this set, they will be moving on to fight in grand finals, either the winner of FT Win versus Freeze.
Yes, and before we go into that, we do have analysts on the side, so we are going to be able to go towards some analysts, and they'll give you their thoughts on the set, this amazing set that we witnessed. I believe we are ready to go over to them now. So we'll be back with you for the other semi-final. We'll see what those guys have to say.
Welcome back to the analyst desk, everybody, and what a set. Back and forth, hard fought, game 9. Really couldn't have asked for much better to start off here. And this isn't even the set that people were excited about. This is the set that was supposed to tease us and get us amped for the next one. So hard fought both ways. Prodigy, I know you're taking a close eye on Starburst. What did they do to clutch it out at the end?
So in a... I have to say it, like they did, but not by much. I don't know. There's really a lot to say about this match in particular. There was a lot of plays being made, but to be quite honest, there was also a lot of throws being made by both sides, as I'm sure we'll get a chance to break down here. But in the end, I think what Starburst did is they didn't buckle under the pressure. I think at the start they were feeling confident, and they started losing. And you kind of felt like they weren't conjuncted or playing together. And then they almost lost that Inkblot zones, and it looked like they were just desperation mode. They somehow win it, and that just gives them enough energy to just boom, just get the Rainmaker out there, run it in, and that's game 9.
And yeah, I mean, again, that's what I was saying earlier to send things off. I think Starburst's resilience, especially in those tight situations, especially towards the end of these sets, has really won them some matches so far. And as we take a look at some of the replays here, FLC, as mentioned, it was a hard-fought battle. They had their fair share of very bright moments, even in some of these games that Starburst won. What exactly was it that just had them a little further behind?
I mean, my goodness, K-Bot, they probably could have won 7 or 8 out of those 9 games. They were in commanding positions in pretty much every game until the very, very last one. I think Shellendorf was the only other game where, yes, it got very close at the very end, but Starburst was in command for pretty much the entire familiar scenes coming from their game 9 against where they did pretty much the same thing. I mean, Rift actually played a lot better than I was expecting. To their credit, when I was looking at the group stage games, I would have paid particular attention to the fact that, yes, Urza and Skoze could run in and do crazy things, but Zekken looked a bit lost on his junior, and Alexei he was doing well, but he wasn't doing the kinds of crazy things that won them that Blackbelly Rainmaker game, for example. I mean, that was... And seeing that Zekken was stepping up a lot in those games, he still definitely had some things to work on with regards to his junior, but considering that he's come from playing most of these kinds of aggressive sort of T-Tech kind of weapons into playing junior, that's to be expected, and the fact that he's learned so quickly is actually really encouraging. But I mean, ultimately, it's the same. Like they had all these moments where they should have won the game but didn't, and that's kind of how Rift is. They are a team. They will in super aggro and make these insane plays. But in hunting those plays, they also make themselves extremely vulnerable to these kinds of anti-clutch moments in the ends of these games where they're just almost but not quite making it over the line. And I think also to Starburst credit, yes, Rift was kind of losing their grip of the game a little bit, but at the same time, Rift was catching what they were throwing. Starburst was catching what Rift was throwing. So, I mean, all in all, yes, it's a bit disappointing to have the Game 9 be just an instant knockout where on Rift's pick, no less, where they had everything going for them and then just suddenly everything falls apart. But at the same time, I actually think Rift can walk away from this set, not straight away, maybe give it a couple of days to kind of think about it, but walk away from this actually think, dang, we actually did pretty good.
They definitely did perform well, right? To their point. Again, the Game 9 might have had a little bit of a sour ending, but I think that's a little bit even of Starburst throwing the aggression right back into Rift's face and snowballing that Rainmaker game to victory. 9, I mean, you've been looking at Starburst for quite a while here. I think they're a very energy-driven team.
Yeah, I mean, energy-driven, and I think, it's NFL playoff time, so I'll break out a cliche here. Momentum is everything. Confidence is everything. But, there is some truth to winning a game in the way that they won Game 8, right? Where one little misstep, if Brand doesn't hit his first 2 slashers onto Urza on that Inkblot Zones game, if everything doesn't go exactly the way that it had to go, they lose that and they're out. To get a win like that does give you all the confidence you need. And if you check Brand's Twitter, I think he's feeling about as confident as one could expect anybody to be feeling right now.
Yeah.
But I think, it's energy too. But the other part of that is not being so energetic that you forget what is working. And I think about midway through that set, it felt like there was just not the same level of connect between the Starburst players. And, FLC, you talked about how it's sort of a free-form way that they play. They go where they want to, they execute what they need to in that position, and they play off each other. But we pulled out a few different times where it felt like some of the players were getting way, way too disconnected. Maybe it was Jared on a flank that wasn't quite where everyone else was at the time, or maybe it was Ant using an armor too early. And as the set went on and as they started to get more and more second chances that Rift was giving them, eventually they were able to pull things together at the end. And I mean, that is the part of this game that sometimes gets overlooked is, can you keep it together, man? Can you keep it together when everything is against you like it was at the end of Game 8?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Prod, obviously being a coach, how much do you talk to your team about mentality, especially in these tight situations? Game 9 over sets that you're not used to going this long. How do you tell your team to keep it together?
So there's a lot of different approaches that you can really take, but I think the one that's resonated with me the most and one that I've seen commonly used is that, everyone from a spectator point of view, it's like, all right, we're going to this really intense best of 9 match, right? I say, no, it's just one game. Okay, did we win or lose? Doesn't matter. All right, one more game. All right, one more game. You just view it as one game at a time and only in the context of one game at a time. And so if you lose, you go, wait, oh, we lost? Oh, okay. Okay, I literally had no idea. And if we win, we go, wait, we won? Okay, cool. I had no idea that we even won the match. Just focus on that one game at a time. And especially in a tournament setting, I'm someone that really advocates when you're in scrims, criticize, feedback. Do it, speak it, share it. In a tournament, it's like, all right, what do we need to, what do we think we went wrong with that last game? Okay, cool, moving on. That's it. Just that one point, one little reflection point, and move on. Stay positive. As Nine mentioned, it is football terms, but it not just in Splatoon, across most esports. Momentum, confidence, those things really are key. And if you lose that, you're going to lose that.
And that confidence, I think it's a sentiment that a lot of people that we've been interviewing for TASL playoffs, a lot of the players have at the forefront of their minds. I think every single team brought up something that they're coming into this, they're feeling confident, and they should be, right? They deserve to be here. They've fought for months to get to this exact position. Before we continue, everyone, I just want to give you all a brief update on our next set. We don't know exactly what's going on with it, and I believe one of the players is having some internet issues right at this time. So we are stalling for a little bit more to see what exactly is going to go on there. We'll be in contact with you, and we will keep you updated in terms of when Freeze versus FT Win will play. But for now, there's still so much more to talk about in this last set. We've covered a lot of the gist of it, but FLC, maybe you want to go into here, as we look towards a potential finals matchup. You mentioned Starburst picking a lot of these Splat Zones maps. Did that work out in their favor?
Well, yeah, I mean, no, it didn't. So we were taking a look just before the cast started at the stats that the teams have on each particular mode. And so Starburst picked 3 Splat Zones maps, and I think they have a 4th one ready to go if they aren't happy about the way one of these 3 went. And the thing about it is that Splat Zones is their worst mode, according to the stats, but not only according to the stats, but it makes sense in context too. The way Starburst, as I believe we've already mentioned, so I did some analysis on the TASL YouTube channel, and yesterday's video was in fact about Starburst and how they have this kind of freeform SAR, which Nine was alluding to. And the thing about that is that when you are playing Splat Zones, you're typically looking for set play instead. When you have this kind of freeform, I'm just going to take this part, you're going to take this part kind of thing going on, what ends up happening is the enemy team, because of how easy it is to sort of defend on zones, the enemy team is going to know where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish, and they can dogpile you before you really get set up. Not only that, but typically on zones, you want all of your specials coming out all at the same time, and specifically you need to actually layer them so that their effects happen at the same time, right? So for example, you need to activate your suction rush a little bit early so that the bombs are going off just as your junior's getting to the zone and the ink storm's starting to paint it and all that sort of thing. And we actually had a couple of moments here and there where I think on the Rift game, for example, there was the first retake that Rift got could have been stalled. It was basically Skoze solo capping with an L3D. Now, yes, the L3D is quite good at painting, but it was basically just him because I'm pretty sure the rest of his team was already splattered at that point. And Ice was sitting on a suction rush, and he was sort of out of position to use it. But at the same time, that when you're on defense in Splat Zones, you need to have these protocols ready to go. You need to know, all right, I have a suction rush. Enemy team is going to start pushing in. As soon as I see them actually commit to the push, the suction rush needs to be going, so that I can make sure that their push doesn't overwhelm the zone. And we weren't seeing a whole lot of that out of Starburst. That's something that I was really hoping I'd see a bit more of, but at the same time, their playstyle doesn't really make that ever happen. They're more interested in one person's going to go off to one part of the map and just sort of pitch a tent as it were. And if that part of the map happens to coincide with the zone, then they get the zone. But if it doesn't, then they're just in the middle of nowhere. And you see, we saw a couple of times, I think we mentioned Jared sort of getting caught on flanks a little bit. That was kind of what was going on there. So, yeah, I mean, suffice to say, I'm not a fan of Starburst picking zones. I think their best mode is actually probably Clan Blitz. At least in terms of the way that they play, it suits Clan Blitz the best because you actually need to be taking large amounts of the map under your control and then just staying there for a while, gathering a bunch of clams, and then eventually pushing your way in. And that fits Starburst to a T, and yet they didn't pick Clan Blitz. We only saw game 1 Clan Blitz, and that was the worst map in the entire pool for that kind of playstyle on Clan Blitz, so we didn't even really get to see it. At any rate, though, they did eventually scrape their way to a win, though, and whoever's going to wait for them in the finals, whoever's going to meet them in the finals, I think is not going to be too threatened by Starburst map picks.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see. Of course, we obviously know that they probably wanted to stay away from tower control, as that was probably heading into this set Rift's strongest point here. And I got a little bit of deja vu in Game 6 on that tower control Shellendorf map. It looked like, Nine, I'm sure you've gone back and watched that set numerous times. It looked like Rift might have had that little bit of magic in them. Starburst was eventually able to shut that one down, though.
Yeah, I mean, saved by the bell, frankly. Like, I think if that push had happened any earlier, it might have ended a little differently. The desperation that had to happen. The big moment that we talked about, of course, was the trade that Ice got onto Skoze when that push was happening. To kind of, again, set the stage, of course, the push was coming in. They were on the checkpoint there. They only came up 3 points short. Skoze goes up onto the glass, aiming to take out Ice. Ice was using the fire fin on that one, too. Of course, we know Suction Bomb Rush could completely shut that side down. That trade being what it was meant that Skoze, who jumped off, by the way, if he hits that shot, lands cleanly, they win that game. He's able to rotate back over. So, you know, the anatomy of a winning push, so many things have to go right. And for Ice to just scrape that trade meant that the rest of his team could safely throw bombs. And I believe that the two up left both had lethal bombs just at the tower. You know that people are going to have to be on it. You can slow it down. And I mean, it's again, those small moments. And like the other analysts are saying, you know, we could spend a long time on each of those games, and we had 9 of them. So it really, again, just kind of, I mean, it just goes to show why this game is so dynamic, and why at the beginning of this, I said, keep your eyes out for some of these fights, because those are the moments. And I mean, I'm still kind of catching my breath and collecting my thoughts here. My note sheet is a blank piece of paper right now, so that should tell you all you need to know about how I experienced that set.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true for all of us, right? There was so much back and forth. It was impossible to sit here and be like, well, who's going to win? You didn't know that after Game 4. You didn't know that after Game 5. You didn't know that. The further and further along we got into the set, there was always an answer for one of these teams. And at the end of the day, looks like Starburst was just able to clutch it out a little bit at the end. But talking a little bit about, you know, how you have to choreograph these pushes almost. I think that's kind of a constant strain through a lot of what we see at the highest level, where sometimes these pushes are going to just completely fall apart unless you really plan everything out. Prodigy, what exactly were you noticing out of some of these pushes that Starburst was putting forward? Maybe even looking towards that Game 9.
Honestly, I've been waiting to say this, but FLC's face really kind of encapsulates a lot of my feelings about this match in general, and it's just a common kind of mix of confusion, frustration, a little bit of excitement because at least my eyes are wide open. But you know, it's just
not to mention a lot of JPEG artifacting.
Yeah, just a lot of just kind of breakdown, right? You know, but. To me, I kind of have to view it as almost kind of two stages. There's like the first almost like 4 to 5 games, and then there's the rest of the set. And for Starburst in the first 4 to 5 games, it felt like they weren't necessarily making pushes, just that Rift was running into them. On a lot of those, I would say maybe the very first Clam games is maybe the exception. And we spent a lot of time talking about this amongst ourselves on the analyst desk while all these matches were playing out. But a lot of those other games, it was just random players getting caught off. Jared a lot and on Starburst side, and Skoze and Urza a lot on Rift side. And so you can't really do a push when you have one player, at least one player of your team, kind of just randomly getting splatted on the completely different side of the map where the rest of your team is. There's no follow-up happening. There's no sort of coordinated effort to do something off of that action. And so as a result, you kind of have these weird back and forths playing out that don't really necessarily lead to anything in terms of an overall kind of flow of the game. And that's what the first, again, 4 to 5 games really kind of felt like. after that, I would say specifically going into the Blackbelly Rainmaker game, I felt like Starburst really started to have more kind of an effort there. We saw Jared; he would be in a flanking position, but kind of hold back and wait a little bit instead of just running forward a little bit more. And so, like even when those plays didn't necessarily work out, it looked like they were at least kind of being aware of those things and trying to make those changes as the games went out. And then the Inkblot game happened, and at first it looked horrible for Starburst. I mean, I think Rift was still at like maybe like 40 or 30, and you have Brand panic using armor as he's dying, Ant jumping off of the plat when 3 of his members are getting splatted. Like it just seemed like everything broke down. They just lost it, and then they managed at the very last second to retake the zone and go from there. And then again, all that confidence came back and it led to a dominant Rainmaker game on the Reef. And so to me, it's those things where it's like, to be quite honest, I feel like Starburst didn't really assert themselves in the vast majority of these games. And as we've been talking about, Rift really was in the position to win probably 7 of these 9 games.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Nine.
I was just going to say to that point as well, like as I was looking back over these, I thought this could have very easily been a 5-0. Like in those first 5 games, Rift was absolutely in control. And, to your point of how close it was, they split every mode. There just happened to be a Clan Blitz game that went the other way. Like I can't even remember the last time that we've had a set go this long where the team split all of the games and then the final mode, just to make it an odd number, ends up being the one that not decides it necessarily, but you guys are getting the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, again, so close, right? And that really shows, I think, the teams at this high of a level, right? They can take games on one another no matter what, especially given the circumstances of any individual day, given any individual team's play style, enough preparation time, all these factors together. It's so close here at the top of Splatoon right now. And that's one of the most exciting things and one of the reasons why you can't sleep on anybody here. Prod, I'm sure you know that from personal experience, getting counted out in some of these conversations in the North America division, Slaughterhouse continuing to fight for what they believe. You guys almost pulled through in a couple of those sets. Unfortunately, couldn't pull out the overall set.
What are you trying to say, K-Bop? Let's get to the point.
How did your face said 1,000 words there, Prod? How did you manage to say 1,000 words in one facial expression with that? I don't understand.
A lot of practice.
All right. Well, updates. I believe we're still in the process of getting one player a consistent internet situation here in order to be able to play the next match. So in case you're wondering, where's Freeze versus FT Win? Really excited for that set. Hopefully it will still be happening. We're still in the process of making sure that all of our players are ready to play on a stable enough internet connection. Make sure that that is all squared away. These international events, online, intercontinental here. We're trying to do everything in our power to make sure that our players are ready to play before we start the actual match itself. With that,
can I interject?
Sure,
I actually have a point here that I think that kind of continues some of these trains of thought that we've been having, and it goes back to one of the very first things that FLC brought up, which is Starburst and Splat Zones, right? They have all these Splat Zones maps, but it turns out that Splat Zones might actually be one of, if not their worst mode. And I think it also goes to show when you look at the competition in NA. Specifically of the other team that made it into the top 2 on the NA side, FT Win. Splat Zones is notoriously FT Win's worst mode, right? So you kind of have this thing where, they went 5-5. I think is the record that Starburst went in the regular part of the season. So they went 5-5 against a region that currently is weak in Splat Zones altogether, right? So you got to really kind of consider these things, and it's one of those things where moving forward for Starburst, if they're weak on the Splat Zones games and they're not really showing that well strength in the other modes right now, maybe outside of Clams, we only saw one game there. They're not looking nearly as strong as they did on the NA side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the weird thing about the NA playoffs too is that I think Starburst and FT Win both had weird rosters, right? Because FT Win obviously didn't have Shaq, but then the other thing was that I'm pretty sure Starburst was playing with Silver.
Instead of Jared. Yep.
Instead of Jared. And Silver is not the silver from SRL. You know, it's not the speedrunning guy. It's also not. There's like another silver, who it's also not him. It was like another silver. So it's like the third best silver. You know, it's like they were playing with a weird roster. So even then, like it was really hard to really gauge how good these teams are coming in. And not only that, but FT Win, we're talking, you mentioned FT Win being kind of bad at zones. The awkward thing is that because they had Bagel and Toon playing for them instead of Shaq, who are typically more, well, Bagel was playing stuff like Mini Splatling, he's usually a Nautilus player. They actually went well on zones because they had a bunch more painting players instead of having two people running forwards at all times. So, yeah, I mean, the NA group stage was really hard to draw any kind of conclusions from because, like, the teams already kind of play a bit puggy. So that is to say, they play kind of a bit heads up. Like they're not really trying to organize things as such in their plays, and especially in their scrims. And they kind of come into the game and they just sort of play how they feel like playing. And like FT Win is typically more organized, but at the same time, without Shaq, they lose some of that sort of their usual play style. And then, as we've already alluded to, or did we allude to it? Starburst doesn't usually play with all their players actually in voice comms, so they
Ant in particular is notorious for not being. He might sit in a VC and listen, but he'll often be muted.
Yeah, and I've heard stories about Ant at LANs where he's almost like that in person too. So it's like, I don't know, but
Nine has a great statement on this.
Yeah, no, I actually stole this one from Brand, so that most of my content comes from stealing from other people. But no, I have met Ant in person, and I'm still not sure that he exists. He is so unassuming, but man, I mean, he's such an enigma. And I mean, there are moments like even over the course of that set, we were talking about like holy cow, Ant just clutched that situation, like moving up, and then like 2 minutes later we're saying Ant's doing nothing right now, and we just can't really get a real read on what it is. And you know, heads up I think is probably the best way that you can describe it, so thank you for that, FLC. Like, what needs doing? Well, if you want to see what needs doing, sometimes you have to do nothing and see what's going on. It's crazy. And I guess while we're on the topic of Ant and armor, one thing that we kind of joked about in the middle of the game where it first happened was when Brand changed off of L3. He originally went over to the NZAP, and then that later became the Tri-Slosher. So double armor, of course, the NZAP is a little different than the Tri-Slosher with what it's trying to do. But, you know, that was kind of one of the things, if you're talking about, and Brad, you mentioned this, the first 5 games and then the last few games, you know, how much of that do you think was Brand wanting to switch to something more comfortable? Because the L3D, like, there is some sharpness you have to pilot that weapon at this level, and maybe he just wasn't feeling it today.
Yeah, I can definitely talk a little bit about that, and then I'll pass it over to FLC because I know he has some thoughts about that as well, and also give him a chance to wrap up some of the things he was talking about earlier. But for me, the way I read it was more so that, again, as we kind of talked about this, you know, first 4 to 5 games, what Starburst, you know, really was not really having much in terms of proactive plays, and it was really kind of just reacting to what Rift was doing, and then vice versa. Was what really made that change, that shift, was switching to the double armor. And so specifically, the first game that they switched to the double armor was that Shellendorf game with the NZEP, as you mentioned. And so to me, I was like, okay, you're running double armor with a CDS and then a charger. Like, you're running double armor with no one that's going to actually want to just run in and take a fight, especially against a team that's running double inkjet, right? So like, there's no sort of, okay, I'm going to use my armor for you to run in with your inkjet or whatever. But I think what they were really thinking was more so of, you know, we're starting to lose these games because of the fact that we're not playing so coordinated, and we are getting picked off by the chip damage from the inkjets and the random sniper shots from Alexei and all these other things. So let's run the double armor to respond to what they're doing rather than to respond to what we want to do differently. And, you know, that is kind of a more passive overall reaction, but it's actually ended up working more towards them. It did feel like it kind of made them feel a little bit more comfortable in their style of play. Then the issue again with the Inkblot was that once they started kind of losing that control, they just started panicking. Okay, throw an armor out. Oh, I'm going down. Throw another armor out, so it wasn't perfect. And that's where I really want to have FLC join comment on it, because he had some good thoughts on this as well.
Well, I mean, going from what I'm not quite sure exactly what you're talking about. You were mentioning Bran, and how he's picking a bunch of different weapons.
The fact of whether he went to NZAP for being comfortable, or whether they had some sort of actual plan behind using double armor.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of the thing I was going to go to second, to be fair. Yeah, so you're talking about like running in with double armors and all that sort of stuff. Like they've got a CDS. Like why does a CDS? What is he going to do? Like he doesn't run in. But that's kind of the point as well. Is that Rift? Like you don't need to run in when you're fighting Rift, because they're going to run at you, and all you got to do is just live and shoot them, and suddenly you get a push because there's nobody on the map to stop you from pushing anymore, because they've just suicided on you. And I think the double armor plays into that a lot. It's kind of the Radiance way of playing, where you kind of let the other team get impatient and run at you, and you've got 2 armors, so they're going to fight you when you have an armor on, and then when they finally get the armor off you, you've got another armor. So when you factor that into the way the CDS was situated, so it made it so that Jared had a lot more time on his hands to like run rings around the map, like when people were on him, like he could actually roll away, like he could take some damage, roll away, get armored again, and so on. And when the double armor, I don't even like watching the Shellendorf game. It really did seem as though it was just Rift. Sorry. The NA teams have the S teams and EU has the R teams. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those games, it did definitely seem as though it was Rift kind of running in, but then it's always Rift running in. Like, that was the whole problem the entire set. So, on one hand, it makes sense to use double armor and, like, actually absorb some of this aggression that's being thrown your way. At the same time, I'm not even sure it necessarily... I'll put it another way. I think that they were just... All of these games were basically coin flips, whether Rift was going to win the game or throw it, and it just happened to land on heads in the last couple of games. The armor may have sort of pushed it from a 50% to like a 55%, but I genuinely did not see... Like, I'm saying that this is how it should work. Like, you use double armor to absorb this aggression. But I'm also saying that I don't think I really saw that happen. So I can't say that in good faith. But yeah, I mean, basically, I'm agreeing with you in the sense that there's... like, they picked double armor, but was that the thing? It's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, it may have been something as simple as just not wanting to play the main weapon L3. Like, I mean, Tri-Slosher, very consistent in a lot of these fights when the opponent's running at you, and NZAP certainly maybe a little more consistent too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helped maybe a little bit, right? I think there was like 1 or 2 moments where I know for sure that really did help. Want to give you all, before we keep going on this conversation, want to give you all another quick update. As Noctis has just made a tweet on his own account. It might actually slide in and cover my face here. But currently, Noctis is the player in question. He is en route to a 3rd location to try to play the TASL match. It's been a series of unfortunate events, really, for Noctis and the players of Freeze. So hopefully we're going to try to get that working, and hopefully Noctis can come online and play the set here. So we're just waiting on confirmation for that. If not, we might have something else in the works for you also. Hope you're all just sticking with us. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and thanks for joining us. By the way, if you'd like to join the discussion that we're having, feel free to use the hashtag TASL2 on Twitter. I know I didn't really mention that in the pre-show like I wanted to, but you've seen these tweets start sliding in. If you want to use the hashtag TASL2 on Twitter, you might get your tweet to show up on stream. Obviously, those are getting hand selected so that we can keep a little bit of a moderator's eye on that. But if you'd like to join in on the conversation on something that we're looking at, feel free to do so using that. Nine, did you have any like other follow-up points that you were really going on there?
Not particularly, just contributing to the discussion of whether it was double armor for the sake of double armor or some other thing. You know, I agree with FLC in the sense that it didn't seem like the double armor was the conscious choice. I really just wonder if Bran wanted to play Tri-Slosher because he felt like his Tri-Slosher was playing better. I mean, those last 3 games, there were moments where, or I guess maybe not the last 3, but certainly on Shellendorf, on Inkblot, on Rainmaker, there were moments where it just seemed like he was able to take over with that. So, I mean, that is the one thing I think, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone. Sometimes we think too much about the specials and forget that, you know, there is a main weapon that people are piloting, and some of them have different levels of consistency. So it's just always kind of cool as we dive deeper and deeper into the finer points that sometimes one gun shoots better than the other.
I mean,
on the point of the Tri-Slosher, okay, but did you have something?
No, go ahead if you want to. I was just going to say that, like, yeah, that happens. You know, some days it's just whatever the comfort is. I know that, like, anytime I play a video game, Splatoon, Smash Brothers, sometimes I just try a bunch of characters on the day. One of them feels better than the other, and it's probably not the one that felt better yesterday. But FLC, go ahead.
Yeah, so the other thing about the Tri-Slosher is Bran did use it in game 1, and I'm pretty sure I remember a remark at the time of Bran having twice the splats of anyone else in the game at like 2 minutes in. So yeah, I mean, he was definitely feeling the Tri-Slosher. Like, going into this, I know there was the stat brought up that Bran was picking a lot of different weapons, like something like 8 in the group stages. But to that point, when I was actually looking at the games, it seemed as though Bran off shooters was not a thing. Like when he picked K-Machine, he wasn't hitting his directs, and he was too slow to get away from things and all that sort of thing. It sort of seemed like, if I could describe the problem, it would be that when he's playing shooters, like, he'll move and then he'll shoot like 3 shots with an L3, go figure. But even when playing T-Tech, like, he'll shoot a couple of shots and then he'll move again. But then when he picks up Slosher, he's trying to do the same thing where he, like, tries to shoot a couple of shots, but the difference is that it's a Slosher, so it takes forever. So he loses all his mobility and he's no longer able to sort of stay ahead of the game. Yeah, and I mean, I think looking at like the awkward thing with analyzing like how Starburst did well is always just how much agency it actually had on the games. Like, something I always like to do in analysis is to sort of, rather than just saying like this team won or this, you know, one team won or the other one did, I usually break it into one team either won or lost, or the other team won or lost. Like, one team actually had agency over whether they won the game, or the other team just lost. Like, they had the game, they just threw it. They had complete control over whether they won the game or not, and then they just lost because they screwed up. And I think we were talking before about how the set kind of shifted midway through, where instead of Rift having all the agency and being able to play like Rift having all the agency and being able to like control the games, into suddenly, you know, they get this crazy comeback. Even the Rainmaker game that they did end up losing was still like quite good for the most part up until that point. Like, you could definitely tell that we're warming into the set, and by the end, they were absolutely playing a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're getting closer and closer to the time where Freeze might be able to play. So again, we're all just trying to play this by ear. I'm sure we're just as excited as you all are to watch this set. We'd love to hop into it as soon as we can. But we're just going to go through a couple of real quick checks on that front. But before we do that, I think it's okay to send it to a little bit of a break unless anyone here has any closing thoughts or closing remarks on the last set. I think we kind of exhausted that. FLC, anything more?
I mean, you could already hear I was clutching at straws in the last little bit there. So.
All right. Tell you what, everyone, we will. Yeah, we'll take a real quick break from the analyst desk here. We will be right back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Go grab yourself a drink. Go use the restroom. We will be right back.